What's up, everybody? Tuesday night, you know what it is. It's Flyers Talk A to D. Tonight, we got a fun conversation for you guys. Tonight, we got expectations because we're in preseason games now. What changes? What what do we see in the preseason that might change the expectations? We're going to discuss that. We're also going to discuss our roster predictions. Do we have any dark horses that are going to pop up through training camp that maybe steal a spot from a vet? Or are we going to see something similar to what we had last year? We're going to discuss all that. We're going to discuss so much more with it. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn on those notifications. Facebook, hit that share. Twitter, hit that retweet or whatever it is anymore. Let's go. Time to go talk some puck.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of Flyers Talk A2D live on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Tsutsuti, along with the Darkwing, Brian Daly.
Preseason hockey. We're getting close.
We are. And Mr. Blue Shirt, Mr. Broadway, Mr. Switzerland, Big Bad Brad Ryer. So, today, we are brought to you by, like always, Specialized Physical Therapy, the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal. If you got any aches and pains that are bothering you and bugging you and just giving you a whole world of trouble, then hit up the doc at www.specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Head on over to either Burlington or Cherry Hill, New Jersey, one of his two locations where he's got two very well trained and very highly skilled teams that can help take away all the pain you're feeling. So that way, when it's all said and done, after a few sessions with them, you won't feel that pain anymore. So there you go. Problem solved. You can get back to doing what you love to do and get back to doing your job without being in pain every 5 seconds. And with that, the poll question for today is the Flyers' preseason record will change the expectations for the regular season. Agree or disagree? Well, we all know that the preseason, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't necessarily mean anything in the regular season. However, it means something to the young players who are hoping to make an impression with the big club. That's usually where you see a lot of the big moments from rookies and what have you who want to try and possibly make a debut on the team. Easier said than done, but this is where they try to do it and try to prove it. So, gentlemen, I ask you, does the preseason record truly change the expectations for the regular season? Agree or disagree? Do you think it does or do you think it doesn't?
Going to disagree, Maddie. I think it's pretty simple. You stay the course on what was said earlier on in this offseason, and that's we're expecting to take a step back. So a lot of good things have happened so far through rookie camps, through training camps. So far, we've seen a lot of good things, especially from the young guys. That's what as Flyers fans we want to see. Now, with that being said, the expectations of this team should continue to be rebuild, development. Whatever the record winds up being. Nothing else matters. Development, getting the team back to being consistent, winning, and basically having that core nucleus ready to go when the old nucleus is ready to bye-bye. Get them ready. Let's go. We got it. You got old players on this roster that still have to be replaced. You have young players that you have to figure out what you're going to do with. And you have some vets on here, some younger vets that are getting ready to have breakout years that you got to figure out if you're going to trade them or not. So there's still a lot of questions here for this roster before everything gets solidified as far as who's going where, who's fitting where. What do we do with the young guys that are performing well? We got guys clogging holes left and right. So there's so much that still needs to be figured out for this roster that the expectation for this season needs to continue to be player development. It needs to continue to be course change and it needs to be fine tuning the vets on this team to get back to form, specifically Sean Couturier. Sean Couturier is a guy they're going to have to lean on this year on and off the ice in the locker room because that guy's wearing the C now. He's got a full season with it. And he claims to be 100% healthy. So now Sean Couturier absolutely has to show not only just off the ice and be the voice, but on the ice and be the voice. So he's got to start producing offensively. He's got to get back to being the full 200-foot player that he was a couple years ago. I'm not saying he has to score 30 goals a year, but he's got to get back into form to be that threat of a two-way player that he was before. What's up, Don Don? He's too important to this team. He's too important to this franchise. And he's too important to help some of these young guys really grasp onto what this organization is and what the NHL needs to be. And, you know, your preseason record, it's not going to do that. The expectations is set through the locker room, through the coach, through the front office, so on and so forth. So, no, I disagree with the poll. I think expectations stay the same. Keep rebuilding. Keep getting young guys better. Let's go. This is preseason time here. We're not far away from the season opener. I'm getting this. Let's go.
All right. And let's see here. Brad, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like the Flyers' preseason record changes the expectations? And also in general, do you feel that a preseason record changes the outlook of a regular season, even for your team?
No, not at all. Preseason, the veterans are just using it to get themselves in shape, and get their work in. As far as the young players, there are the guys that are competing to try to make the team are out there, and they're going to be giving it their full force and all their might to try to make the team. The Flyers have a host of young players who are just about there, and they're going to be fighting to make the team. But as far as records and everything, records mean nothing in preseason at all. They don't. As I said, the whole thing. I'm looking at my team, of course, and my team. We got a couple of guys, Othman and this guy Mancini, who nobody ever even heard of, who are having great preseasons. But are they going to make the team? Probably not. In the Flyers case, you have to look at the guys like Bonk. Maybe he can knock down the door this year. Will Jett end up making the team? Will he be able to play more than 9 games? What's Michkov's impact going to be? The key to the Flyers this season, of course, is going to be Couturier. I totally agree with Brian on that. He's got to come back. I'd like to see 20 goals, and I'd like to see 40 to 50 points out of him. And be a penalty killer and be the heart and soul of this team and the blood and guts of this team, and be sticking his nose in everywhere it doesn't belong. And because that's what captains do, and that's what captains need to do. And that's what he needs to do. I think you can expect Konecny to have another good year. And some of these other guys, Frost, who's the other one? Joe, I'm blanking out now. The other left, Farabee. These are guys that you want to see step up and really become players, start scoring goals and being a threat every time they're on the ice. This is what you want to see out of some of these guys. As far as expectations, I mean, I think the Flyers are going to be right there just like they were last year as far as the playoffs are concerned. And, couple of good breaks. Maybe they get there if they stay healthy. Probably not. Defensively, I still think there's a little bit that needs to be done there. That's why you kind of really want to see some of these young kids get in there and hopefully make a difference. I mean, I think to have their defense out there, especially the guy they got from Anaheim, you want to see him out there all the time. You want to see him produce. You want to see him improve the power play. I mean, it's critical. These are things that have to happen for the Flyers, and uh, whether they show it in preseason or not, that's not necessarily the case. But you want to see some signs. But the winning and losing doesn't matter. Let's be honest. You're going to start your starting goalie for maybe 1 period to 1.5 periods. Nobody cares if you win or lose the game. Everybody just wants to get their work in. So I'm going to disagree. I don't care if they go 6-0, and I don't care if the Rangers go 6-0 or 0-6. I mean, last year they were they were like 1-4-1, I think, or something like that in preseason. It doesn't matter. Preseason is not anything to judge except some of the younger players who are battling to try to make the team. And as far as the Flyers are concerned, you'd like to see some of their young studs that they've drafted make this team and then go from there.
So, Don saying, fun fact, the Detroit Lions went 4-0 in the preseason and then went 0-16 for the regular to have the winless season.
Sorry, Don.
That, clearly preseason didn't mean anything.
Sorry, buddy.
to them on that one.
Yeah.
And it is a different sport, but still, it is a preseason where you went undefeated and then you did absolutely nothing during the regular season. And then Prism saying, I remember that year for Don's Detroit Lions. John saying, I'm totally excited for the Flyers hockey, possibly a playoff appearance. It's been some time. 3 things will tell: power play, defense, and goaltending.
I agree with 2 of those. Definitely the power play is going to help, and the goaltending is going to need to have some form of consistency for sure, John. Absolutely.
Jesse saying, what's up? I haven't watched any preseason. I'm going to try to get to the home opener, though. That's cool. Let's see here. Priz saying, agree about Farabee, Brad. He needs to stay consistently aggressive every game, every shift. And
it's time for him to break out and be a factor out there. It's time for him. I mean, it's enough. If he can't, it's either put up or shut up time for him. And I think if you don't see consistent scoring this year, I think the Flyers are definitely going to try to move him at some point during the season.
Unfortunately, I think he's probably going to wind up getting moved at some point this season regardless, because he's got trade value and he's got upside. So for the Flyers right now, it helps clear cap space, and you're going to get value in return for a player like Farabee. It's hard to find scoring left wingers of his caliber.
If you're looking at 15, 20 goals by the All-Star break, he might be around. If you're looking at like 10 goals by the All-Star break, that's not what you need out of him, and he probably will be traded. So I mean, we'll see. I think Farabee is a guy. He's got to, if he wants to be in Philadelphia at the end of the season, we got to see 25 to 30 goals out of this guy. No more potential anymore. He's been around long enough, and it's time for him to break out. As Morgan Frost as well. He's another one. Who's got to start showing it. Look, there are some real good young players in this farm system. Okay. These guys don't get their acts together. If that doesn't motivate them to see what's going on with all these young players the Flyers have, then it's time for them to be sent packing, and they will be sent packing.
So Jesse's saying, honestly, 1-15 feels worse than 0-16.
Oh no,
no. Mike is saying, Gaudreau's father on the ice with the Flyers was a good gesture for towards. Gaudreau's dad, who was a part of Flyers practice. Absolutely. Don is saying confidence level 1 through 10 for the goalie position. I'm gonna say it's relatively in the middle for me. I mean, I'll say a solid 5. I'm not gonna jump through the roof because, again, not that I have any issues with Urson and the way that he's played, but Fedotov is, of course, still a question mark. Not wishing the worst, but hoping for the best, but cautiously optimistic. I put 5, though, because it's like there's a 50-50 chance that he could be he could be, not as good as we'd like him to be. I'll just put it to you that way without, jinxing or anything like that. So I'm not going to jump, too high on the confidence level. I'm still unsure on that. And then on top of that as well, there's several other prospects that the Flyers have that, they haven't really had any opportunities to be on the big club. So who knows? There's going to be interesting. There's going to be some competition there in the goaltending position.
No, for sure. And I'm probably I'm not much higher than you, Maddie. I'm like at a 5.5, maybe a 6 max. And I'm not worried about Urson. I know he's a solid tandem goalie. We've seen it. He's not the type that's going to get 50 to 60 starts in a year and be okay. It's also not that kind of league anymore. So unless you're like a bona fide franchise guy, one of the few that still exists, a Vasilevsky, a Shesterkin, you're just not going to see it anymore. It's a dying breed, these franchise goalies. So tandems tend to stay, are becoming the new trend. So now it's finding a guy to work with Urson. Can Fedotov be that guy? From what I heard, maybe, absolutely maybe. So from rumors I've heard, the biggest part of his issue last year was apparently his pads were too big for him, which is a possibility. If your pads are too big, you're not going to be able to play right. Trust me, I work on a hockey store. I know some of these. Listen, I'm not a professional goalie in the NHL by any means, but I work in a hockey store. I understand how the logic is supposed to go.
Have you ever played goal at all, Brian? Just fooling around in street hockey?
Mm-mm.
I can tell you your equipment. I mean, I have a few times. I was out there, and I can tell you if the equipment is not perfect, you're going to struggle. to put it that way, because there's always something. If something's wrong, it doesn't fit right. You don't know if you're cutting down the angle, and you can look and feel really bad when you're out there.
Not even just that, you have gaps. You have gaps in certain areas that you shouldn't have if they're too small. But either way, getting back to my original point was, if the pads fit right for Urson this year or for Fedotov this year, we could be seeing a completely different goaltender. So this guy's a talented goaltender. There's no doubt about it. It's just going to be a matter of him adjusting to the NHL game, and he has to do it relatively quickly. I'm definitely giving him a break because we only saw 3 games from him last year, and they were not good. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt going into this season that he can be a backup, a tandem guy who can help Urson, who probably realistically could start 40 to 45 games and be okay. So I'm at a 5.5. So it's all going to be determined by how Fedotov develops in camp, adjusts to the game, and just how he develops into the regular season. It's going to be huge. That to me is going to be the biggest factor whether or not the Flyers get to the playoffs or not.
Mike is saying Swayman is still not signed in Boston, but again, they'll do everything they can to get him signed. They'll move heaven and earth to keep Swayman up there. So I don't suspect him leaving anytime soon.
He'll be there. We're starting to see some of the other big name RFAs starting to get signed. So Lucas Raymond, Mo Sider, Dawson Mercer, they're all starting to get their contracts now. Swayman's on a short list. He'll be there.
And then let's see here. John saying that the Flyers signed top Sharks goalie prospect, which is true, Eetu Makiniemi, who did have his debut in the preseason yesterday against Montreal. Unfortunately, did not go so well. Although he didn't do too bad. He only had 1 goal scored on him. Meanwhile, they changed goalies, and then another 5 went in the back of the net. So,
didn't that wind up being Bjarnason, or was he game 1?
I forget who was in goal.
Who was Cal? What's his name? Cal
Peterson. Never mind.
Peterson.
You're right.
Yeah. Then that explains exactly why.
The open window was in goal the other night. So.
That explains why all those goals went in. But Makiniemi didn't look that bad. Like I said, he only let in 1 goal. So it's like, okay, That's fine. Compared to how bad the situation was yesterday, 1 goal going in on you is not bad. So, anyway.
I wish my Hulu would stop doing what it's doing so I can watch the rest of this game.
Wouldn't it be nice? Be nice if things worked when they were supposed to.
I know, right?
Um,
Just trying to watch hockey.
the Jett needs to get that 9-game tryout.
Yep.
Luchanko, yeah. Who looked
Yeah, go ahead, Maddie. Go.
He looked real good against Washington. Michkov looked pretty good too. And a lot of the guys looked good against Washington. And again, aware that, you're facing either minor leaguers, you're not facing all of the top guys on the team. But it's nice to see when clearly they had an A squad out there against Washington. I guess they had the B up in Montreal.
Yeah.
Because they played very well in Washington.
It's funny because it's kind of like all your scorers and your skill players all went to Washington. All your grinders and other bottom 6 players all went to Montreal, and you can the results you kind of expect if that's the case. I know TK didn't play at all in the first 2 games. I believe Tippett was in Washington, or was he in? I can't remember where he was. But anyway, regardless, I love seeing these guys step up. I love seeing Farabee, with 3 or 4 points against Washington. Michkov had 2 points. Luchanko had 2 points. Frost, I think, had 2 or 3 points. Like, let's go. This is what the Flyers fans want. This is what it's all about. It's proving yourself in the preseason, earn the spot, get yourself going early, get that confidence going early, and give yourself an opportunity and give yourself what you need to have a great season, regardless of what the record is. The wins and losses don't matter again this year.
Mike's saying Lankinen signed a contract in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And he also says that apparently they're concerned about Demko.
I don't know how concerned they are about Demko. You might have to elaborate a little bit more. I mean, as of right now, dude's the starter, and the only other guy that I think could do it if Demko has any issues is Arthur Silyav. He had a good showing in the playoffs last year.
And he also goes on to ask, do the Phillies win the World Series to you, Bri?
Not when they win a division and they get spanked by the Cubs. No, realistically, like tonight, I didn't expect to win. Hangover game.
Yeah, I was going to say they're hungover from the
party. They were partying last night for sure. Especially Garrett Stubbs, who's apparently in the lineup tonight. So, but honestly, I don't know. It depends. It depends, man. The road to the World Series can be a very tricky one. So, honestly, as a fan, I'm saying yes. But as a broadcaster, I'm saying we'll see. Let's take it a day at a time there, Mike. Let's find out who our first opponent is going to be and then go from there.
So let's jump into a couple of questions. I start off to the side here.
Let's go.
Mike said Stubby had about 8 beers, by the way.
And that was just in his overalls.
Mike's first one is apparently question of the evening is that there was an American hockey player named Dick Paradise. Which team did he play for? My answer is Red Tube, but I'm not sure what AHL team he played for. Mike, let's see here.
I have no idea who that is.
I was going to say, just because it'd be ironic, I'll go throw out the Phantoms. It'd be hilarious if he did, but yeah, I'll throw it out there.
I'm going to say Hershey Bears. They're one of the oldest teams.
Makes sense. You got to pick
I know
Brad.
He's not on a Ranger. He's not on a Ranger AHL team, that's for sure.
You would have remembered that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No. But probably
Rangers.
The Bears. That are.
What?
Maybe the
Rangers
Chicago
just pulled
Bulls.
within one. That's a good preseason game right there. Rangers down 4-3 now.
Yeah, they were down 3-0. But again, it is what it is. quick, and
Whoa, we lost Brad. So fun prediction as well of how we would win the Stanley Cup if we had every single break in humanity. If literally all of the other teams, besides the bad ones, had an off year and the Flyers were just trucking through people to make the Boston's dominant year put to shame. That would be the only way right now.
Well, obviously, everything's got to go right, Matty. So
Yeah.
that's the easy thing. Power plays clicking, penalty kills doing their job. Demko. Oh my gosh, Urson and Fedotov outstanding all season long. That's really what it is, and the guys execute. They find themselves in the right positions. They bounce back off of rough losses. They don't have losing streaks over 3 games. There's a lot to it, but I mean that's probably the easiest to go.
Chris says Flyers go 80-0-2, and the 2 losses in overtime are in shootouts.
At least they're not undefeated.
Right. And let's see. Chris saying the Houston Aeros. So that's interesting.
Apparently, Mike said it's not AHL, not the AHL.
I guess he meant the WHL Houston Aeros back in the day. And let's see, Don. If the Wings don't make the playoffs, I blame Jeff Blashill, even though he's no longer in the organization. Okay,
I love it.
Understandable. Got to be consistent. At least we know Don is. And let's see here. Pris saying to Bedard. What do you mean to Bedard?
Elaborate, Pris. We're not all as stoned as you are.
Yeah.
Love you, buddy. Did you get it?
I think he said it's going to be a steal earlier on because of the cap. So that might have been what Pris was talking about.
Gotcha.
So, Brad's
sorry,
back.
guys. I have no idea what just happened. I'm in the middle of talking, and all of a sudden, the lights went out.
Oh, jeez. Nothing like a power surge.
Yeah, that was
Let's
weird.
see here. John saying, what's your thoughts on the Flyers starting out Western Canada? I like it split early 2-2. I'm fine with it. Get it out of the way and get it all done and dusted. That's fine with me. I don't mind that at all.
I don't think it's a bad thing, guys.
No.
Listen, the Rangers had a West Coast trip, a Western Canada trip last year, really early in the season, and they went 5-0. Okay, and if they would have done that towards the end of the season, there ain't no way they were going 5-0 against Vancouver, Winnipeg, and Edmonton. That was not going to happen. But they caught them all early in the year when they were all playing kind of crappy.
Gotcha.
So yeah. It's if you're going to do it, that's the time to do it when these teams aren't quite up to snuff yet. You catch some of them napping. You could also catch them, not getting up for the Flyers like they should. It's not a division game, not a conference game, and you never know what could happen. So
that's true.
The Rangers tied it.
No,
did they really?
They did.
So Lilyav says next year's draft will determine the future of the Flyers. May very well, since it is a very deep draft. So very possible. Yeah, Pris did confirm those were shootout losses on that record he threw out there. Let's see here. And yes, the WHL Houston Aeros are correct. So the professional version of the Aeros.
Never heard of
Interesting.
Them. Never heard
Maybe.
of them.
Yeah,
So it is possible that Dick Paradise played with Gordie Howe. It is very possible. Let's see here. Don saying, who's the player y'all look?
Or did Gordie Howe play with Dick Paradise?
I see what you did there. Okay.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. Don saying, who's the player y'all look forward to the most from each of your teams? The player I look most forward to for this year, I definitely look forward to seeing Michkov, but I'm also one of the kids that I really enjoyed watching last year, and he showed up against Montreal. I'm looking forward to Bobby Brink. I I love that kid. He's got a nose for the net,
Mhm.
and he is a risk taker. He ain't afraid to go for it. So it's
He's
like
another guy that needs to pick it up and get onto that roster.
well, he's got to stay on the roster. You're right.
Yeah, he needs to pick it up.
Yeah, he drifted between both the Flyers and the Phantoms last year. So yeah,
Oh man,
if he could stay, yeah, that'd be great.
Don, he's too old for P Diddy.
Oh God.
Oh God is right, but I'm just putting that out there. Yeah, Dick Paradise is too old for P Diddy. He likes him younger than that.
Unfortunately.
But you know what we like? We like hitting that subscribe, turning on those notifications, not missing the thing that the A2D boys have to offer, whether it be baseball, basketball, football. We're in the heart of Eagle season. We're getting started on Flyers. We're right here. Hit that subscribe, turn on those notifications, and would you believe it? The Rangers took the lead.
Good Lord.
It's almost like I will say this though, Brian. With the Rangers and the Islanders, that's kind of what happened all season with them last year. The Islanders would own 2 periods, and then the Rangers would kill them in the 3rd period. Do you guys remember the game, the outside game last year? When the Islanders had them 4-1, and then the Rangers beat them 6-5 in overtime.
Oh, in that Stadium Series game?
Yes.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'll say this for the Rangers though. I'll say this for the Rangers tonight specifically. Islanders don't look like they've started a ton of their normal starters. There's a few of them out there.
The Rangers had just about their whole team out there.
I was just about to say, yeah, I've been seeing a lot of
guys. The only guys they had Jake Lazishin out there, who's not going to make the team, and they had Ruedel and who was the other one? Ben Harper out there. So I mean, they're not going to make the team either. But for the most part, they have most of their starting lineup out there. I heard Hedel played I heard Hedel was really good. Hedel got a cheap shot from Scott Mayfield, and I heard Ryan Lindgren ended up fighting him, which is good. Well, I like to see them sticking up for each other, because they need Hedel to be a difference maker. Yeah, I mean, if they're going to beat Florida, he could be that one guy, that one goal scorer that they didn't have last year, because their 3rd line, they couldn't score at all.
I mean, it's not even
Alex Winberg is not good enough to be your 3rd line center to beat a team like Florida. Just not. Hedel is though. If he scored, Hedel scored 24 goals. Not last year because he was injured, but 2 years ago he scored 24 goals. He's a good player if he could stay healthy.
I mean,
I want to see Matt Murphy make the team and show us that he can play the game besides for just beating people up.
So, Bri, who was the one you were looking forward to seeing on the Flyers this year, as well as the Ducks, since he says y'all's team, so since it will count for both?
Most guys are not going to like my answer. I can tell you that right now.
What, for the Ducks?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I figured.
Mm-hmm. I saw that question. I'm like, oh my gosh. Most people are going to write me off. I'm excited for Cutter.
As you should be.
Despite the entire situation and what happened here in Philly, he's a talented young player. He wants to play. He wants to be on the big roster. Nobody really knows the full situation on what happened. There's speculation out there, but I mean, I'm excited to see what this kid can do with a guy like Zegras or McTavish or Leo Carlson or Troy Terry or Frank Vetrano. This Anaheim team is gonna. I see you, Don. This Anaheim team is gonna be fun to watch in a couple years, but I'm expecting another year or two of bad hockey out of them. But yeah, we'll see. But Cutter for the Ducks, for the Flyers, Tyson Forster, Jamie Drysdale, Cam York. See if he can keep up the play that he had last year. I was saying this a couple weeks ago. I think Cam York is going to be a force on that defense, and It's exciting that he's exciting to watch. He's exciting to watch, and he's going to be the second guy on the power play that's going to back up Jamie Drysdale. So let's go. By the way, 6-4 Rangers was the final.
So Brad
Snyder had 2 goals. I just got the update, which is that's kind of what he does against the Islanders. Can't control him. He stands in front of the net, and nobody can.
They were empty netters.
Distract him, you know.
So Brad, what about you for the Rangers? Who are you most looking forward to seeing?
Matt Rempe.
Okay, I can imagine
he had a very interesting summer. Okay, he worked out with George Laraque, and supposedly he made some huge progress in his boxing ability. And from what I heard, he went to power skating school, and he's a much better skater this year. And they're saying he's having a really good camp. And I really want to see him if he's good enough to make the team. He would really if he can score 10 goals this year and just be out there and be a presence, physically. That to me is they really need that, because they're not exactly the most. How do I put this without saying bad words? They're not exactly the manliest team in the NHL, if you know what I mean.
Gotcha.
It's not like anybody's really afraid to get physical with them, and if he's not there, I don't really know who, other than maybe Trouba. But Trouba, as big and strong as he is, he's not exactly Mike Tyson in the rink. So I don't know that anybody's really afraid to drop with him either. Rempe, the real tough guys, yeah, they all want to go after him. But if your name isn't Matthew Olivier or Jake Delorier or Ryan Reeves, how many guys really want to tangle with him?
Probably not many.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he'll keep the other guys honest.
Don does say, I heard Matt Rempe is fighting Jake Paul next. So all right. So let's see here. So after the 2 preseason games in the books for the Flyers, lots of good stuff to take away from the game against Washington. Not too much good to take away from Montreal. So we will continue to see how things progress into the next preseason game, which let me double check when that next one is. It is
Thursday against the Isles.
Yep, you are correct, Bri. Thursday against the Isles, so that should be interesting. See how they do. We'll see if they decide
to play the third period against you guys.
Be interesting, right?
Yeah, they didn't exactly. They gave up 6 goals. 5. No, they gave up 6 goals in the third. Jesus Christ, they gave up 6 goals in the third period. I know it's preseason, but jeez.
Fourth string goalies in.
I understand that, but 6 goals, giving up 6 goals in a period.
Hey.
That's why. See, that's why preseason really doesn't mean anything.
So my question is, if the Islanders put in the goalie they had tonight, and we put in Peterson, can we find out who gives up more goals? Because to me, that'd just be fun.
Do we get do we get to find out what the over/under is?
I was thinking it's in the teens when it comes to goals being given up. So,
oh boy.
With that, we can transition on over to the Flyers opening night roster predictions. Unless there's anything that we wanted to tack on to the preseason games before diving headlong into the second part of the show. Was there anything we wanted to add on?
So real quick, jumping back to the Rangers Islanders, Semyon Varlamov started the game, shutout in his portion of the game. Just Kittikinen gave up all 5 goals on 13 shots.
5 goals and 13 shots.
It doesn't matter. This kid's he's an AHL. You had basically your NHL roster going up against an AHL goalie. So did you really expect? Yeah. Expectations are low at that point.
Yeah, but still, I'm just thinking about, do the Islanders play any defense to protect the kid?
I'm guessing no.
Yeah. I just find it amusing because I know it's preseason, but isn't that kind of like Islander hockey, how it's been, how it was last year with them? They come out playing great for 2 periods, and then I mean, they did that in the playoffs against Carolina last year, didn't they?
Yeah. They wound up winning.
Remember that one game they had a 2-0 lead in the third period and they lost 4-2?
They blew it, yeah.
Yeah.
And they had the lead one game too, and then Carolina tied it up and won in overtime. So it was.
That's the game I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. So then it must have been.
They were ahead 2-0. It was in. I think it was in the game was in Carolina.
Yeah, it was in Raleigh.
The Islanders were ahead either 2-0 or 3-1 or something like that.
And I remember laughing at them because of just how poorly they played in the third period, and Carolina just absolutely dunked on them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just goes to show that the Islanders are. I don't know, boys. They're going to be an interesting team to watch this year.
I don't know that they make the playoffs this year.
They may possibly be a train wreck, or they may possibly just be in the bubble like they were this past year. I'm kind of hoping they're a bit of a train wreck.
It could be asking a lot to see them make the playoffs this year. I just don't know that they're going to do that.
Yeah, it was weird.
We'll see. It's their first full season under Patrick Waugh. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
he tends to bring the talent out of people, and like I said, this is essentially the AHL roster for the Islanders minus like 4 guys.
True.
Versus. And the Rangers essentially putting out their opening day roster. So I'm not looking too far into this. I'm not really. But I mean, I think the Islanders will be fine. Islanders have the talent. They have enough talent and a solid enough defense and good enough goaltending to keep them in it. It's just going to be a matter of if everybody
going to be better than the Devils.
No, Devils are going to be a top 3 team.
No.
The Hurricanes, Rangers, Devils will be the top 3 teams in the division.
Exactly. And it could even be in that order, or it could be in any one of the 3 different combinations. Or however many combinations.
I am going to say this, though. I do want to see Waugh lose his mind like he did when he was coaching Colorado. But I want to see him do it against the Rangers, because I actually think it would be hilarious to watch it happen. Because he might actually try to grip up the Rangers coach, but I would cry laughing at that.
Him and Laviolette.
I would love to see that, because we all know Lavi's got a temper. I mean, Dan Belsman knows for a fact he does. So
yeah. Laviolette can. So does Tortorella, but Tortorella's too small. He's too small for Roy. Roy was a tough guy, though.
True. So, Flyers opening night predictions for the roster. I think there's the obvious ones. There's your Michkovs, there's your Frosts, your Farabees, your Couturiers, your Laudens. They're the guys that are going to be there for opening night.
Couturier, Tippett, Drysdale.
Yeah, these are your prototypical. They're going to be on the starting roster for opening night. So I have to ask, is there anybody so far that we've seen from the rookie games and from the preseason that we've seen that might possibly bust their way in to the opening night roster?
Guy says, have you seen enough out of Oliver Bonk to possibly make the team, or is he going to go back to the minors?
He's going back to juniors. There's no spot for him to play consistent.
You don't think he's going to get 9 games?
No, there's too many defensemen on the roster as it is. Okay. So he's going to need consistent minutes, and he's only going to get that playing in juniors. But for
So,
me, I mean, this roster is going to be pretty much very similar to last year, minus a player or two. I mean, obviously you have your usual suspects: Tippett, TK, Coots, Farabee, Frost, Forster, Lawton, Brink, Cates, Paling, Hathaway. Those are your usual suspects. To the forwards, we're going to add just one guy, and that's going to be Michkov. I mean, any disagreement there?
I mean, I don't disagree with Michkov.
Well,
You
if
don't.
Luchanko makes the team and plays 9 games, it's going to be an extra forward. So it could be 2.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that could. Do you think maybe Talomala might get an opportunity?
Nah. I mean, he had a good game in Washington. I don't necessarily. Again, this is going to be. It's odd man out. Who's the odd man out right now? I mean, Atkinson wound up being the odd man out to make room for Michkov. So who's going to be the odd man out here? Like you can't. I don't think you can take Noah Cates out. He's showing that he's a very good, hardworking player. Forrester, you can't take out. Lawton,
No.
you can't take out. Paling, you can't take out. Hathaway, you're probably going to be flipping with Delorier.
Can't take out York.
Nope.
So, you can't take out Tippett. There's a lot of guys you can't take out right now.
Right.
To say though,
they're going to have to look. These guys are going to have to earn their way on, and you know what? There's always injuries. And if somebody gets injured, somebody has to take the bull by the horns and grab the opportunity. That's what's going to end up happening. I mean, I remember Ryan Callaway when he first came up with Ryan Callahan when he first came up with the Rangers. He came up and he was absolutely unbelievable. I don't remember who replaced, but he came up. He was great. Then somebody got healthy and he got sent down. Okay, but guess what? In a couple of weeks, somebody else got hurt and they called him up, and he never went back down after that, and he ended up being the captain of the team. So, you know what I'm saying? That if you have somebody that's playing well, he'll end up being there. They just have to show it on the ice.
Well, as they say, one man's tragedy, another man's opportunity, really, when the opportunity comes. You have an injury to a player, young kid gets a phone call, say, okay, here's your chance to get into the big dance. Let's see what you got. Mike's saying Ollie Leixel. Leixel did have a goal against Washington, so that was nice. Again, though, I think we're all still kind of in the boat of there's really not a spot for him right now because of but again, the names we bring up, guys like Taumala, guys like Leixel, guys like Bonk. Well, maybe not Bonk because he would be in juniors, and Luchanko the same way. However, those guys that we mentioned that are in the AHL, it's possible that we could see them on the roster if an opportunity presents itself. And most likely we will, because full 82, very rarely do you go without getting injuries in a full 82 campaign. Actually, you never do. But the thing is, it's sometimes a player goes down, could be a veteran player. Now it's time for a rookie to step up and have an opportunity. And Ollie Leixel could be that person. Could possibly be. Could possibly be somebody else on the roster that we weren't thinking of. Opportunities will be there.
Absolutely. And I think you're going to either be carrying 2 forwards as scratch players, or you're going to carry 2 defensemen as scratch players. For me, I should say you're going to probably wind up rotating one of the guys on the third pairing with one of the guys that I have as a scratch. I think Ollie Leixel could be a guy who winds up playing on a rotation with some of these other guys. I think Nick Delorier surely he's going to be on a rotation with probably Hathaway just to keep some grit in the lineup. You got Eric Johnson, who's probably going to rotate. And the one young player that I think on the defensive side that could be on a rotation too is going to be Emil Andre. I think Emil Andre he's ready. And it's tough because there's not really a permanent spot for him, but at least you can get him in on a fairly consistent basis to the point where he's going to get enough ice time to really learn the NHL game. It's going to be a matter of can he outplay Risto or can he outplay Zamula to really get some of those extra minutes that are going to be floating around. We know that Torts is going to be the guys. I'm going to play the guy who's earning the minutes. We know that. He said it last year. He said it this year. But it's going to wind up being a combination of 3 of those 4. It could wind up being a rotation of those 4. But
Maybe.
I think if Luchanko does get the games at the NHL level, it's not going to be 9. I think it's going to be a couple just to give him a little bit of an extra look. But honestly, the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm trying to figure out how to make it work. I think Luchanko doesn't get the 9 games. I think he does wind up going back to juniors. And not because of him not being good enough. Because, I mean, if Washington's just a start, that I'm excited to see where this kid goes. It's just a matter of where you're going to put him. Who do you take out of the lineup? Because right now at center, you can't take any of those 4 guys out of the lineup. You can't. They all have their value. And you take them out, it's good for a young guy, an unproven player who honestly is probably going to benefit more from going back to junior hockey.
So you want him playing, and you want him playing a lot. You don't want him up for 8 to 10 minutes a game. That's not gonna.
No, we discussed this last week. He's going to get every opportunity
that was
to
what
play
I
at
was
least 15 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Well, we got Greg saying disagree to the poll. It's just preseason. What's going on, Greg?
What up, Greg?
Mike threw out Denver Barkey, another player that, again, opportunity could possibly knock on his door during the regular season.
Yeah, but he's going to go. He's going to be in the AHL for sure to start.
Juniors. He's going back.
No way.
That's right. He's going back to juniors. So maybe not.
I'm thinking of the guy from Colorado State.
Oh, Rizzo?
Yeah.
Rizzo will probably wind up being an AHL player.
Yeah,
he doesn't go back to college.
Thank you, John. So overall, I think if there's any now I will say this, if there's any possible surprises for opening night, I would say goal has the biggest opportunity for that. Only because Urson most likely starts. However, if you see something really good out of a goaltender during the camp or during the preseason, you might consider the possibility of bringing him up to see if he could work in tandem with Urson to start things off. Is that most likely going to happen? Again, as I said before, I'm not sure. It's a 50-50 chance that could happen.
Wait, hold on real quick. Who are you talking about?
A goalies, not necessarily anyone in particular yet.
Okay. I thought I just missed the name. That's all.
No, it's just the possibility of who could work in tandem with Urson. There's a possibility of a surprise there. We're thinking Fedotov, but who knows? We might actually get something different. And
you can keep Urson to 50 games and not have to play more than 50 games. I think you'll see a very, very solid player, a solid goalie. But if he has to play more than 50 games, he showed last year that he can't play that many games, and most goalies don't play that many games. So they're going to have to get it from one of these guys.
Well, again, I mean,
Fedotov is going to get the first shot.
Oh yeah, he'll definitely get an opportunity. But again, I think if there's an opportunity for there to be an upset, it's definitely who's ever working in tandem with Urson. If there's any possibility to see fluidity in a spot, it's in that tandem. Because Urson is the only one I think we can agree, he's the only 100% he's here on the main roster right now in terms of goal. And the only thing that changes that is if, and God forbid this happens, if you have a situation where the goaltending is really not picking up the way you'd like to in the tandem with Urson, so you try something completely different and take a chance on somebody else that's not in your organization right now. God forbid they do that, and God forbid that it has to come to that. But my point is that that's the only time I can see there not being anybody in the Flyers prospect pool that's being put into the position to try and accompany Urson during this full 82 campaign.
Yeah,
And
Bjarnsson's already been sent back to juniors, so he's not going to be an option. Cal Peterson isn't really an option. He's playing really well at the AHL level, so they're going to probably keep him there. And he's been a
right.
good leader for the young guys down there as well. Zavragan is over in the KHL, so he's not an option. So if it's not Fedotov, it's got to be somebody, and it's more than likely going to wind up being somebody outside the organization, so it's going to have to.
Could be Makaniemi.
True.
They
It
just
could be
signed him.
Makaniemi. But I mean, odds are I think he might be on a two-way deal. But I think more than likely he's gonna wind up backing up Peterson in Lehigh.
Okay. Well, all in all, the Flyers have a very interesting look to their opening night roster. For the most part, it seems like the only real major change right now is Michkov, which is a huge change because so not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination.
Getting this dynamic rookie in there is always a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this.
If I was a Flyer fan, okay, I'd be on pins and needles waiting to watch him play. I think anybody who calls themselves a fan of the NHL can't wait to see what this guy's got.
Oh, absolutely.
you got talent on three lines.
Huh?
You got talent on three lines.
Yeah. Look, they're gonna. I think they're gonna be able to put the puck in the net, but they've got to be able to score on the power play. Okay, and Drysdale should really help at the point since he's now had a camp and a preseason to practice, and be the guy at the point. And I think Tortorella will figure it out. Tortorella is not exactly the pinwheel of fortune when it comes to power plays. I remember his power play with the Rangers, and they struggled with him running the power play. That's not his thing, but he did get someone now to coach the power play. So hopefully, they'll get that going. And if they get that going, with their penalty kill, it's very effective, as we know. And boy, did they score a lot of goals last year. I think they scored more. More shorthanded goals than the Rangers, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, the Flyers. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers scored like 12, 13 shorthanded goals last year, but I don't think they led the league. I think the Flyers did, didn't they?
Power kill, baby.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
I think Konecny was like the primary owner of most of those shorthanded goals.
Yeah, well, see, that's what Tortorella when it is he teaches guys how to play defense first, and he loves that headman pass. That's his shtick, and getting those odd man rushes. So that's always been the way he coaches, and I think it's just a matter of time. It's either going to be this year or next year that they're going to make the playoffs and be an impact team in this league. They're getting close.
So with that, it is definitely an exciting time for the Flyers. Young player like Michkov coming in to add something great to the lineup. Flyers as well having a start to the preseason that's a batting 500, but that's okay because most of it is to see what you got in the youth and for some of the veterans to kind of work out the kinks a little bit to get themselves ready for the start of the regular season, which is getting so very, very close, folks. It's almost here. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to have opening night. And I know this because guess what show is going to be going live when opening night is happening?
I think our opening night is a week from Thursday.
For your particular regular season, yes.
Yeah.
I think for the Flyers it is a Friday.
I think it's a week from next Thursday.
Right. For the Flyers, I believe it's a Friday in Vancouver. But
I don't know this.
For NHL
They have
For
to play
NHL
Vancouver. They have to play
opening
Vancouver to
night.
start.
For NHL opening night, yeah, going out to Vancouver. For NHL opening night, it'll be right on Tuesday night in a couple of weeks. So we'll be here for you guys for opening night, and there'll be 3 very interesting games. One will be Seattle and St. Louis. That's game 1 at 4:00, which is weird considering that Seattle's in that game. 2
Well, they get the
is
garbage out of the way when nobody's watching.
and then 2 is going to be Chicago, and what was the team they were taking on? Oh, I'm sorry,
Utah.
Utah, and that is not number 2. That's the last game of the night. The middle game was Boston and Florida.
There you go. Now that's going to be a good game.
And also, of course, we are going to have the Panthers raising their Stanley Cup banner and facing off with their newfound rivals up in Boston. I think it's safe to say that they're rivals now, considering that they've had 2 very brutal playoff matchups with each other at this point. But anyway,
Florida's got a lot of teams that hate them now.
naturally so.
Not only do they win the Stanley Cup, but they're the dirtiest team in the league as well. So they're going to have a big target on their back.
Well,
So we'll see.
It's the burden you bear. It's the cross you bear when you win the cup.
Yeah, I'm just wondering when somebody's going to, take it to Matthew Tkachuk and put him out for a while, because he's going to get his. You don't play that kind of game that he plays, and not and stay healthy for a whole season. Somebody's going to let him have it. And it could be Brad Marchand, because he's just as bad.
All right, so with that, we thank everybody for joining us on this edition of Flyers Talk A2D here on A2DRadio.com. Once again, brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. If you got any aches and pains bothering you, Dr. Paul Vidal is the one to go to. Next week, we will be back. The Flyers preseason will continue to be in full swing. And let me just double check here. Yes, we do have. No, we don't. Okay, just double check. I'm sorry. I got it. 100%. We do have a preseason game next week on October 1st. It will be in Boston. Flyers will be playing. So hopefully we'll be able to get you guys some live reactions to that and see how the Flyers do and see how the Rooks do against Boston. They did well last time, actually. That's when Bobby Brink kind of made himself a name during the preseason last year against those Bruins. So we thank you all for joining us, and we will see you guys next week right here on A2DRadio.com. Until then, you stay safe. You stay healthy out there, and we'll be back for you with some more hockey action. Peace and love, everybody.